Okay, thank you for coming, everybody. We're going to start off with our friends from Home Trust Bank, our lunch sponsors. So take it away.
How's the food?
Amazing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good. You know, we try different businesses from time to time, and this is another new one.
Red Radish, Black Mountain, locally owned, and they have 9. They've expanded since 1998, so really cool company.
Black Mountain's crushing it on restaurants here lately, right? Goodness, I like little old Black Mountain. Do a bunch of loans in a community called The Settings, doing construction out there. Have you guys been to The Settings? I noticed that there's a wide range of lot prices in there. There are some that are extremely affordable, and then some that are very expensive. But it could make for a diverse community, which would be cool. My name is Paul Heathman. I'm a mortgage loan officer at Home Trust. I've been at Home Trust for a decade now. Seems crazy. Let's see. I'm also on the board of directors for the not the Asheville Home Builders Association, the Builders Association of the Blue Ridge Mountains. We are rebranding this year because we're growing. We've grown into Henderson and Transylvania counties, also Madison. That association was willing to join with ours, so we're all one association now. Let's see. I'm also on the Affordable Housing Committee here at the Lotsar. Several other people in the room are as well. In addition to that, I'm on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee at the city level. So I'd like to try to be a liaison between our committee here and the committee at the city. Let's see. I do other things, but they're less interesting. Let's see. Why don't you introduce yourself, and we'll talk a little bit about some lending after we introduce ourselves.
I'm Sarah Morrow. I am a loan officer with Home Trust Bank. I have worked in our construction lending department before that for many years. So construction, renovation loans. Y'all don't know me, but all the builders do. I am honored to have this position. I think this is one of those things where we get to match up people and get loans with people that really need them, and I love that about what we do. And this is Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hart. I've been with Home Trust since 2011. Been a loan officer for about 20 years. Love what I do. Have a heart for helping first-time home buyers get in some tricky situations, figuring out scenarios, put the puzzle pieces together. Love being at a local bank. Last one here. So it's more like a family. We have local underwriters that we pick up the phone, we call them, hey, let's talk about this. How can we make it work? Instead of the situation where, nope, it's a no, let's figure it out.
Tabitha.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tabitha Scott. I am also a loan officer with Home Trust Bank, and I always like to share I bought my first home with Home Trust, and then I refinanced with Home Trust, so I'm passionate about homeownership. Everyone in the room knows that the fastest way to build your net worth is through homeownership. And so I absolutely love working with this team. I love working with the community bank, and we are here to help when you have questions.
Cool. Thank you. So at Home Trust, we do basically any loan program under the sun. We've been at it for a long time, so we have all of the acronyms. We do everything from big, huge jumbo loans, construction, all the way to first-time homebuyer down payment assistance, stacking programs. In the rare occasion that we don't have the appropriate program, it's paramount for us to connect people with the right program. And all of us care more about those individuals than we do about doing business. So in those occasions, you can always count on us to, if we need to refer it to another lender. Again, it's rare just because we have such an offering, but we don't just cut people loose. Like, we genuinely care. This is why I work at the only local bank, Home Trust, because this group of people and also the ones that you don't ever see that are working in the background genuinely care for our community. So speaking to that, Home Trust is working on a new program that is only ours. It's called Homeownership Now. Is that what we're calling it still?
Until we change the name. We find something more.
We might change the name. Yeah, that's that's good, but it's not perfect. It's all about a community. It's all about connecting people to a mortgage that wouldn't maybe otherwise be able to get to it. We are considering more than 100% loan to value, higher debt to income ratios in cases where it makes sense, not in cases where it's someone in a bad situation. Folks with credit challenges. We believe that everyone is part of the workforce. So workforce housing means housing for everyone. I don't need to tell you all about the program. I just need to tell you that this is another example of us working really hard to be innovative, to help our community when we really need it. Things are tough right now in those spaces. So, that's what I wanted to share with you. Sarah's going to tell you a little bit about construction lending and rehab, which has the ability to help us with a lack of inventory.
Yes. So not only does new construction, we also do renovation loans. So I myself sold my house, which was like an instantaneous process last summer, and then trying to find a new home. I now live in Marion. So you guys understand that. Every house I was looking at all over Asheville, anything that was under 500,000 needed some kind of work, needed some kind of updating. That's where a renovation loan comes into play. Just high topic things that you need to know. Everything we do, like I said, is Asheville based. So when you call somebody to get a draw, you're talking to somebody with a country accent in Asheville, North Carolina. They understand it. We match our draw schedule to your builder's cost estimate from the very beginning. So whatever they turn into us and our underwriters look at, if they're on the side of a mountain, they need $150,000 for a foundation, we're totally okay with that. We will set that up from minute one to suit their needs. We also are known for doing deposits on, large ticket items. We've got those cabinets that you got to wait 7 months for. You can get in there and you can get that done. So just remember, we do care, and we will absolutely do everything we can to make sure that your person that you've invested all of this time, and my real estate agent will tell you I drive her all over the county and surrounding counties. I feel like we're the kind of bank that we're going to take care of them as much as we're going to take care of you. So you keep bringing people back to us. That's our goal.
Lisa?
I think we talked about things that we do a lot of, and I work, like I said, with a lot of first-time home buyers and folks that have credit challenges. And there are some that, one in particular, I worked with almost 3 years to get them into a home. I don't just look at them and say, your score is 500. Good luck, can't do it. I help coach them. We partner with On Track, First Time Home Buyer Education. We do work with North Carolina Housing. The one we talk about the most, the one I'm most proud of, is a first-time home buyer who's a teacher, married a wife that stays at home. They were starting a family. And we use North Carolina Housing. We partnered with what's called the Community Partners Loan Pool and got them almost $50,000 in down payment assistance. We used Federal Home Loan Bank. I got them another $10,000. And we worked with North Carolina Housing's MCC to get them a mortgage tax credit so that they can get a tax credit of $2,000 to leave about $170 in their bank account each month that's not taxed. So that where they couldn't find a house, couldn't build, they had no way to get anything without all of these resources. And it's just a plan of what's out there, knowing what's out there, how to make it work, how to partner with these different agencies and down payment assistance to help them get there. We do a lot of USDA, VA, FHA, so a lot out there for programs.
I always like to say, you're in the South when there's a church on every corner and there's a lender on every corner. But just remember that all lenders we're not created equal. So we really, we work together as a team. So if I come up against something that I've never seen before, I can call one of my partners and say, have you ever seen this? Like, what did you do? And how can we structure this? So, we're really honored to be a part of a platinum sponsor with Lotsar, and, to be able to help your clients is literally what we do and what we're passionate about. So we're just, when you have something and you want to run it by one of us, call us, because we're here to help and we're here to partner with you.
I'll leave you with one last thought. We are ambassadors to our community. A lot of people we work with nowadays are coming from other areas. Many of them are financially very well off, and those are opportunities for us, right? But the opportunity that we can connect them to in our community is that they really do want to join our community. So many of them are hoping to be a part of our community, and we are in a unique situation to turn them into volunteers to help all of the causes that we love, right? So let's make sure that we're not missing that opportunity when we have those big sales to bring a little more fulfillment to those people's lives, and also to help our community out where they can use their resources. All right? That's probably a good segue. Really good segue.
Yeah. What he said. Great segue. The presentation behind this, or is that?
Yeah, we'll that's just in the interest of time. We'll send it.
So you got it.
Usually stop sharing.
No, we got
We're gonna just go straight to oops.
We're going to send you the video.
Yeah.
You can watch the video. Right now you have the live version of the video anyway. So, Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Pett. I'm the Executive Director of Thrive Asheville. And it's so nice to meet you. Thanks for taking time today to come together and learn a little bit about our work, and hopefully to consider how you can be a part of what Paul just mentioned, offering your clients the opportunity to really invest in a powerful way in our community and open doors to vulnerable parts of our community. So big, huge thank you also right at the top to Matt Allen and David West. I'll thank them again in a minute, but thanks so much, Matt Allen and David West and all of Lotsar for all they've done to support our work. Matt has been a real champion of Thrive and our efforts to increase access to affordable housing. So we really appreciate that. And really happy to be here. So I'm going to talk quickly and then turn you over to the main act, which is the fabulous Francina. Let's see if I can get this to move. So Thrive Asheville is a relatively new nonprofit organization. We've only been around for about 2 years. We were started by a group of diverse cross-sector leaders who saw some challenges in our community that were the result of rapid growth and change. And of course, we're not the only desirable place to live that's experiencing these challenges. So we spent some time with that group looking around the country and trying to understand how should communities respond to these opportunities for growth so that the ways in which we change benefit more of our residents, so that we become more equitable and resilient and really become the community that we hope to be, rather than change just happening to us. How do we guide it? So that's really what Thrive's vision is that we are in the driver's seat as community members, really headed towards the kind of community that we want to live in. And how do we do that? What we learned from looking in other places in the country that are also facing these challenges is that successful cities and communities have an organization that brings people together. That the key capacity that cities need to change is they need the capacity to come together, learn about their challenges, identify appropriate solutions, and then work together to enact them. So that's Thrive's mission, is to be that convening body, working across lines of difference,
so that people can work together effectively on complex problems. I think I'm talking fast. So Thrive is a collective impact initiative. And what that means is that we think our community looks something like the before, which is that we have tons of people who want to work on these complex problems, right? We can just look at the housing space. And there are so many different people who want to do the right thing in housing. But right now, we're like this ecosystem of arrows. We're all pointed in 100 different directions. We're kind of chasing our tails, different parts of the problem. But what we know that what really works and what really turns the corner on these big problems is when we align behind common goals. And over a long time, we stay focused on an issue so that we can actually make a difference and move the needle. But this doesn't happen by accident. The reason that we look like the before is because our community doesn't have the capacity or hasn't had the capacity to be organized. And that's where Thrive comes in. We're working with this scrambled group of arrows, and we're investing expertise, and we're investing leadership, and we're investing fabulous people like this to actually get the system to work together in alignment so that we can actually tackle these big challenges. This work is different, and it can be trickier to measure. People are used to saying, well, the kinds of results that we're looking for are easily kind of like numbers and quantified. But what we know, again, is that for communities to be successful, they actually have to have these capacities to work together. We have to be a connected community, and we have to work together across these different perspectives, sectors, and lived experiences. We have to be able to collaborate, which is a word that everyone throws around. But collaboration doesn't just mean like we show up, right? And we volunteer at someone's event. Or collaboration is a long-term project where we really change the way that we work so that we work together more effectively. And commitment, we have to stick with stuff for a long period of time. We can't just keep chasing the shiny objects. So these three capacities are what Thrive is delivering for the community. And ultimately what they do is change conditions for residents. And Francina's going to tell you a little bit about how that's actually happening in one of our programs. So about 3.5 years ago, a group of community leaders came together and said, well, what Thrive wants to do is really work on this kind of ecosystem organization. Where is a space in our community where we know there's lots of concern and there's a really profound need, but there's a lack of organization? Where's a place in our community where some collaboration could really make a difference? And the other thing that really is so fundamental to Thrive is where is a place where the issue really is fundamental to increasing equity in our community? So, of course, housing became the obvious answer in terms of where to start. Here's a space where we all care about, and we also know that we can't actually help change people's futures unless we address the fact that we're deeply segregated and divided, and that we have deep pockets of concentrated poverty. So we started looking and looking for places in the housing space where we saw opportunity. Where is there an opportunity to create a win? And one of the first opportunities we identified was the lack of federal rental assistance acceptance, the lack of acceptance of housing choice vouchers. So how many people in here are familiar with housing choice vouchers? Okay. So housing choice vouchers, which people always say to me, do you mean Section 8? Is that what you're really talking about? Okay, yes, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Section 8. We're talking about housing choice vouchers. We're talking about federal rental subsidies. And what we identified is that each year, probably as many of you know, there are lots of these federal rental subsidies that are going untapped in our community. So we wanted to understand who are the people behind that. And here's a snapshot of 1 month, just 1 month of data about who are the people who have money, who are ready to move into properties, and who can't find a place to go. So in the month of January, there were 75 vulnerable households that had federal rental assistance voucher in hand, ready to move in, but couldn't find a place to go. This is a profound equity issue, right? 84% of those families are female households, female-led households. 65% of those, a hugely disproportionate number, considering our very white majority community, are BIPOC households. And 80 children live among those 75 households. So really increasing acceptance of federal rental subsidies is a really profound opportunity for this community to push the needle on equity. So why do people who have vouchers find it difficult to find housing? Francine is going to tell you a lot more about that, and I don't want to steal any piece of her thunder, but Thrive convenes people to talk about these problems, and we did bring together landlords and asked them, what is it that keeps you from accepting vouchers? And in short, Francine is going to go more into it. They told us that there's this gap between the reimbursement rate of vouchers and what they can get on the private market. So there's that rental gap. There's the time it takes to navigate this very unfriendly bureaucratic program. And there's the cost and risk associated with repairs. So Francine is going to tell you about how we decided to address all of those problems so that everyone can accept vouchers in just a minute. But what is the cost to our community? So again, remember, this is just a 1 month snapshot, and this number of 75 is the lowest it is all year. Because what we are learning is that this voucher number, the available vouchers, goes up and down throughout the year, and it's pretty much at its lowest in January. But even in January, if these 75 families don't find homes, we lose as a community $1.2 million in federal funding this year alone. That's just 75 families. That number will double in a couple months. So a huge opportunity for our community. Just to put it in context, yes, go ahead.
So that's 1.2 million over the year?
Yes. And just to put that in context, like our entire housing trust fund, which is what the city has set aside to invest in affordable housing, is like $2 million. So basically, we're leaving on the table in federal funding almost all of the money that we have as a city set aside in our housing trust fund. It also fluctuates, but it's on par. We're losing the money every year that our city has set aside to make future investments. So this is a profound opportunity for our community to help increase equity, to help vulnerable families find homes, and to, as Paul mentioned, really invite investors and residents to be a part of the solution and really have a more filled and connected community. So I'm going to turn it over to Francina.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kate. This thing, you guys, I am 6 foot tall, and this is like, I should have maybe left the heels today. Francina Edmonds, the landlord navigator for Thrive Asheville. I'm also a realtor and now a member of LOTSAR. And this is my first year. I've always been with Hendersonville, but I've come on over this year. So I'm excited to join you as one of your peers as well. But Kate gave me a great segue. I think when we look at this number and this data, it's pretty alarming that this is money that may go unused. So, we really want to talk about a way and a solution that we may be able to come together and solve. Landlord-tenant partnership. That is the name of our program at Thrive. And we are really focused on 4 key areas for our city to deconcentrate poverty and increase access to stable, healthy, safe housing for families in our community. We really want to change the stigma that exists. And that's really why I was brought in to work with landlords in a one-to-one fashion to really sort of change the narrative about accepting vouchers. And it's really exciting because a lot of things that happen in the private market for a landlord may still in our program, but we're able to offer things that are not offered in the private market. We also, as everyone in this room knows, our affordable housing stock is almost non-existent. We're in a housing crisis, so increasing that is a monumental piece of our program. So these are our whys, and these are some cuties. You know, affecting families is such a big deal, so kids are a part of every landlord-tenant partnership that we work with. So the solution. Increasing the acceptance of housing choice vouchers as cost-effective, fast-acting, and we want it to be less risky too as an answer to the affordable housing crisis here. That's a picture of a current landlord and I. We want to help families with young children who are currently living in public housing, ready to be mobile and move to a stable housing environment. We really want to be able to support them, not just with the house itself, but also the neighborhood, their community. We want them to feel like they are a part of that community. So it isn't just the house. We also want to make sure that those are higher opportunity areas as well. The solution. So these are the three areas we want this to be faster. If any of you, and I see a couple of our landlords here in the room within either our BRAC partnership or the landlord-tenant partnership, you know that there is some slowdown that ensues in the private market when you're trying to find a tenant, but also when you're working with a housing partner or agency. So we really want to focus, and I was hired to hopefully speed that process up. Really having a connection point to the agency itself provides us the opportunity to move things and also just sort of have some foresight around all of the areas within the agency that may prove to be a challenge or have for our landlords in the past. Okay. Tenant matching. So another area where, just like in the private market, there could be some time before you're able to lease up. That downtime, we really want to focus in an expeditious way on finding the right match. Challenges present themselves when we work with folks who are stepping out of housing, really carrying the burden of public housing, maybe not knowing anything different. We want to make sure that vetting and that matching process is really something landlords can count on for a future of success for both the landlord and the tenant. So we have a tenant navigator, my counterpart, her name is Crystal, and she also helps us speed up the process in that she is a mediator or coach, a guide for the tenant, a full advocate. So when issues arise, she's able to come to me, we meet, bring the landlord and the tenant together so we can move forward in the process. We want to make things more profitable. Kate talked a little bit about the gap, especially you all know in our micro market here, our little bubble, really what we're working with in terms of rent. But the Housing Authority of Asheville has done a spectacular job of really trying to meet where that market lands today in terms of the payment and the total payment standard for rent. So we're trying to make it more profitable by offering guaranteed rent, something we don't have in the private market. Guaranteed rent paid directly by the Housing Authority of Asheville. We'll also offer to landlords interested in the program a incentive or a housing stability bonus, something that covers the cost to join the program, to learn, to match with your tenant and keep moving forward. So we would offer $2,500 in the landlord-tenant partnership for that bonus. And then a housing stability fund, a unit repair fund. So indemnification or damage mitigation insurance fund, something that gives the landlord a feeling of protection around the unit. We will do that up to $7,500. So all things you're not going to find in the private market that we're able to offer to incentivize landlords. The risk. There's a risk. You have a question?
And that's that housing stability funds, is that per landlord, unit, or lease?
That's per unit. Okay. And as I move forward, we'll get into the eligibility for the unit because that definitely comes into play. Good question. So reducing the risk. Every renter, every landlord knows there's a risk with tenancy. So we're trying to eliminate that as best we can by providing really strong protection, not just financially, but in the one-to-one relationship that we're forming with landlords and tenants. My job really is to make sure, of course, that the landlord feels comfortable moving through the process. They have an advocate who's responsive. But something deeper than that, we're really trying to understand how we could scale this, right? How could we affect more of our community if we can get to these 3 spaces? And we're working it. We're really working it and excited to share more. Please.
Just to understand.
Yes.
So this is still Section 8 vouchers that you're adding these benefits
Yes.
and reduced rates on top of it.
Yes. Let me clarify. I'll clarify a little bit there. So yes, still Section 8 for federal rental assistance, housing choice vouchers. So we would refer to a tenant who accepted that housing choice voucher as a voucher holder or potentially a tenant referral. And they are working directly with the housing authority today to have moved from public housing into this mobility space. So at that point, when they come to us for the landlord-tenant partnership, we would say that they are tenant mobility voucher holders. Does that make sense?
It does. So you're still talking about partial payment from you all, and then the tenant still needs to do their payment amount.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yes, most times there is a tenant portion of the rent. Yes. And then sometimes the lion's share is actually paid by the housing authority. That income verification will come in the process that it's directly between the housing authority and the tenant. And they'll be able to give you a very good understanding. You'll know from the very beginning what that tenant will be paying and what the housing authority will pay you directly.
Yeah, we've worked with Section 8 before, but a lot of our landlords don't want to do it anymore because
Yes.
of the gap of it not being paid. So are you going to assure that it will be paid? The rent will be paid?
As I move further, we'll talk about how we're getting there to make sure that payment is on time and that the communication between landlords and tenants in this growth process is fully intact. Yes. So landlord-tenant impact, we have over 25 partnerships formed, 84% retention. This is really great and speaks a lot to the one-to-one relationship that we have with tenants. Speaking to your point, that gap really, right? Is rent going to be paid on time? What can we do to ensure that there's no missing piece, even just an understanding for someone who's carried public housing with them their entire life? So really important for us to have that retention rate and that renewal rate. We've captured over 400,000 in federal funds that would have been lost otherwise. So as we speak to that 1.2 million, we want to keep that number growing. But I wanted to share a story, just one success that's been pretty recent and exciting for us. Also speaks to that gap around maybe rent payment or communication. We have a landlord named Jim and a tenant named Jules who really, after 1 year, the landlord had quite a calling to stick with this tenant, but really couldn't find a way out of potential eviction or termination of lease based on non-rent payment. A very small portion of rent. That landlord came to us, and really my position is a direct response to landlords saying we need someone to really walk us through this process. They came to me where I was able to include our tenant navigator in a brief conversation where we isolated what the challenge was. And our tenant navigator then began to work one-on-one. Within about 2 weeks, we're able to have this tenant, Jules, licensed, an open bank account, and fully communicating with her landlord. And I think that is the challenge. I'm so glad that you're picking up on that, because without that one-to-one connection, there is no way that we could handle the volume. There's no case management team that could handle the volume that we're talking about. So I think that's the difference. And we want to scale that. So, but yeah, that's an exciting story. And we have many of those. And there isn't one that's also without challenge. So I think that's important to know. But if we can apply this layer of support with Crystal and I in this navigation of the process, we hope to continue to see that retention grow. So what's the response? I've got a couple landlords in the room. I won't call on you right now. Some are early in the program, and some have been with us for a long time. But right now, we're hearing that it's easily accessible, not easy completely, but easier access. Okay. That we are really providing efficiency and being helpful to our landlords as an advocate, and having someone to respond, we're hearing is really great. Being someone who can communicate what the protections are clearly is really key to the process too. So who is eligible? We really hope that you may have some landlords you're thinking of. And if you do, if they have properties that are in low poverty areas or higher opportunity areas in the city of Asheville, they are eligible for the landlord-tenant partnership. They must sit within the city, and they must be new to accepting the voucher. To your question, the unit must be new to accepting vouchers, not the landlord, okay? And the tenant that's chosen may also have received vouchers before. So new to the voucher program, the unit can have accepted vouchers, had a tenant in between, and then come back and still be eligible for incentives. I see you had a question.
Are you planning to expand into the county?
Yes, we are currently working in the county, and I will come to that in just a slide or two. Let me check my time here. I do go on. Thank you. So you would have to be new to the voucher program, also located within 0.5 miles of public transportation. Not everyone in the program have vehicles. So in the tenant matching, we are fully aware of who does and who doesn't and are matching to the right units based on that. But for our city program, we want to make sure they're close. And then also we hope that the landlord agrees to maintain rent at the current payment standard that's offered for at least 2 years. We really want to see real growth and give tenants who are moving to housing stability the opportunity to do that in every part of their life, not just the rent they pay. And so having some stability here makes sense. So what are the numbers? What is the current payment standard today offered by the Asheville Housing Authority? For 1 bedrooms, you'll see with or without utilities. A lot of our landlords choose to pay utilities. Maybe they have a duplex and there's some sort of connection to a place they actually live. They're already paying utilities and they choose to do so. This is a breakdown of the total payment standard when the Housing Authority actually goes and does income verification on their tenant referral, the potential match for a unit. They're learning and understanding what those utilities may look like. So when they come back and when we come back as a team, we have a rent that we all agree to as we move forward. But these are the standard. Any questions? Oh, I'll go back there. Sure. So who are our families? There's one right there. Great family. It's just so exciting to see, to know the folks who started with us and are still with us in this program. So many. But the families themselves, they must have 1 child who are under 15 and living at home with a parent. I'm currently living in a public housing community here in Asheville. So they're in that mobility phase where they're moving to a tenant mobility voucher. And they do have to be in good standing with the Housing Authority to do that, showing, that they have paid rent on time, that they are, not having unauthorized occupancy units, following the rules, and moving on to stable housing. And then we want to see, for most individuals, a desire, right, to want to do this, which is another space where our tenant navigator comes into play and really gets to partner with each referral that we get in a pre-education before they ever meet a landlord. They really get to connect, understand the challenges that may exist, get rid of some of the fear that comes with stepping into the private market. It's scary for folks who know nothing else. And so it's just a great opportunity, I think, all in all, for us to come together as a team and start impacting very quickly. But our families are, I have so many stories. And as I get to know, hopefully, some of you, and there's potential I hope to share, And I hope that some of the folks in this room who are part of our programs share as well, because there's a depth of this work that goes beyond, I think, any financial incentive we're really feeling as a collective. So this is me. That was an okay picture. Better than this humidity today. My hair has grown since I hit this room. But this is me, you all. I am really, what brought me to Thrive being a realtor was seeing this space and understanding so clearly that we have to be doers and move this work, and that none of us could do it on our own. So when Kate brought me on, I thought long and hard about my career and just what I do and what I bring in terms of affordable housing stock to my town. This really has afforded me the opportunity to still be a realtor, but also be doing something else that I know is attaching itself and moving the work around an issue, a real challenge. So yeah, you can reach me at Francina, for those of you on Zoom, Francina at thriveasheville.org. And then the county, working outside of the city. If you do have a landlord who has something that sits in Swannanoa or Black Mountain, anywhere in the county, we want to work with them too. And we are leading the Buncombe Rental Assistance Collaborative. On the streets, we call that BRAC. That's the BRAC. And I know a couple of you I've talked to you about BRAC. Always want to make sure that you know that is full county, and it is all of the agencies listed here. You'll start to see more outreach about us in the coming weeks and months, and really us coming together on some shared standards of how we can meet community members, meet landlords, and streamline this process and scale to affect more.
Is that similar kind of process, numbers?
Different. They are different slightly. We have different levels for our Buncombe Rental Assistance Collaborative, but some of the same eligibility in terms of having received vouchers or federal rental assistance before, and then just some slightly different incentives. And we'll share that information with you all in follow-up. So yeah, if they're not in the city, they can still work with us. We'll bring them into BRAC and our partners. I have to say, just these are the people in your community who are really doing this work. So to get to see us all come together, and as Kate mentioned, get all of those arrows starting to point in one direction is a very powerful feeling. It's exciting. So call to action for all of you in the room. If you know of any landlords who may be interested in this and be excited to be incentivized with something outside of the private market, we really do want to hear from you. And also we want your thought leadership. We know realtors are really good at, applying a solution to a variety of problems and challenges with different types of clients on the regular. It's just the gift that you all have. So if you see some areas where we can improve, incentivize more, and really focus maybe on our larger multifamily, since we do need so much more stock, we would really appreciate feedback and, and connection. So I'd love to open it up, y'all, for questions.
I have several.
Yes.
So bear with me. First is, are these slides going to be available to us after today?
We'll send them.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great reminder.
Yeah.
So I own a property management company. I think that we have spoken before, actually. I am incredibly interested in doing this. I really want to get this off the ground for our company. And one of the biggest things that I need, and this is something that maybe we can have a conversation later, whatever, but just to let you know, I think the biggest hurdle for me is knowing how to talk to my owners about this and how to give them what I would love if I could just wave a magic wand would be to have a package that I could send my owners and say, look, I'm passionate about this. I live in this community. I'm seeing these issues. I want to make a difference here. And here's this nice little package that I can give to them so that, because I don't feel like I have the expertise to speak to them about it the way that you do. Mm-hmm. And so what I need is some way to deliver that information to them all neat and tidy and tied up so that then, with my support of saying, I really want you to consider this. And here's why for me personally, but I really need that in a way that I can just deliver it to them in one easy swoop.
Great.
And one of the things that I get almost without exception when I go to an owner about this, the first question they ask me is, can we get it done without this? Can you get it rented without me doing this? And I have to say yes, because I can.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily want to. And so again, it's how do you get them on board with this? And obviously the other big factor is just the risk, the risk issue. And so we have not been near as successful in doing this as I would like. And I would just absolutely welcome whatever help we can get as a business to make it, just to kind of bridge that gap.
Thank you so much. We absolutely want to partner with you. And that's part of it. We know that you'll have different clients with different needs. That's very specific and so helpful. We will absolutely get you something that you can share, all of you, something that you can share, Yeah, not just you, but everybody can share directly. And we'll be thinking about ways to share how we do deal with that risk.
Yeah.
It does exist.
And also with, for BRAC, I have the same, we had a little spell there for a bit back in, and maybe it was January it might have been December or January.
Yeah.
And I was getting so many phone calls from different organizations, the VA, several different organizations, and it was all so it felt so right and so good. And I was so determined that this was going to get done. And we got so close with a couple of properties and then it just didn't happen. And so again, it was that thing of trying to make sure that I was confident enough about each program to then talk to my owner about it. Yes. And I wasn't. And so I felt like I was constantly kind of fumbling over myself trying to, and then I'd have to go back to the organization and say, well, they asked me this question and I don't know the answer. So what about this? And so again, it's just that somehow bridging that gap is huge for us.
We just hired someone in our communications department, but I'll let you cover it too, a little bit of that.
Well, no, I just wanted to say that, so thank you for lifting up that piece of communications. That would be really helpful to you. We will, in about 2 months, have a fabulous website where it'll be sort of like a one-stop shop for landlords and property managers to go and understand all of the different programs that are available. We're working on it right now. So 8 weeks from now, it'll be launched, and your landlords and you will be able to go to this portal and see the different populations served, the different incentives available, the different amount of time and supports, and the whole picture all in one space. So you'll have that digitally, but we can also create something in print, so we'll work on both of those pieces. I wanted to say that I think, what is challenging about this work, obviously, is that, there is a real history here, right? In the past, tenants were sort of pushed out into the community without adequate supports. So we know that some of the story is real. And this is where we need your help in helping communicate that we really are trying to do this whole thing differently. And with Francina's help and Crystal's help, we're working with tenants. Right now, we're getting referrals from the housing authority as soon as they actually get their voucher. So before we've even identified a placement for them, they're starting to work with somebody who's saying, well, how ready are you for this really? Are you familiar with budgeting? How are you actually going to pay that monthly part, even if it's only $25? Where is that going to come from? So by the time they get to the point of being placed in a unit, they've already been working with Crystal, and they're going to be so much more prepared to be successful. And what I know is that Francina and Crystal are really thinking about how critical it is that each one of these units be successful going forward, because we know that if we don't tell a new story about this, we're not going to be able to solve this problem. So anyway, I just, I hope that you will just give this a chance. We're not trying to say that it hasn't happened in the past or that we're going to have 100% success, but we are going to be there for you when there is a problem going forward. And we think that you are tremendously more likely to be successful in the future. So I just want to say that. What other questions?
What was BIPOC on the rehab POC?
Black, Indigenous, people of color. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Thanks for asking.
So, yeah. Sorry, this is one of these big questions, but I really appreciate what you're doing. I think it's awesome and really needs to be done. I wonder, looking at it from other pieces that might come into the solution part of this, is I know there's construction challenges in Asheville, the whole mountain region, but are we also able to build enough units that are city or county, whatever, that accept vouchers? Like, are we looking, how much are we looking at the private landlord aspect to step in versus what piece, can we do more with the building and before the weekends? That accept vouchers.
Yes, I think absolutely. I mean, I think when we think of Thrive, and I look at Kate over here as a budding future developer for our disinvested community, I think we want this eventually to land in a place where we could develop for our community specifically. We do have to gain the buy-in from more landlords, have more actual affordable existing housing stock. But I think that would be part of the future. Absolutely, we want to see that happen.
And Thrive is working on multiple levels on this housing issue. So the landlord-tenant partnership and the BRAC work, this is really in a specific area inside of housing, right, which is leveraging these federal dollars. But we actually have a teammate who's not here with us today, who's working on the policy side with the city and with the county, looking at our development and our affordable housing policies. So, there's been recently a lot of conversation again about inclusionary zoning, and right now Habitat for Humanity, one of our other partners, is really leading a call for inclusionary zoning. I saw David do this. Okay, I'm not exerting an opinion on that. I'm just saying that that there is this thing called inclusionary zoning, but there are other ways to get it too. Like inclusionary zoning is a stick, but what are the carrots, and how can we make sure that yes, we can incentivize, right? Mm-hmm. So the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, WEACH grants, there are different ways that we can look at. So right now, our program director, Garrett Resnick, is working with the city to really look at all of the tools that the city has at its disposal to try and increase all kinds of incentives and levers. And we do need production. We need production at every single level, right? We need housing at every single level along the continuum. Thrive is pro-production. We are pro-production, and we know that if we don't also work on access, though, that we'll just recreate the current conditions that we have. So we have to do both of those things at the same time. We have to increase stock, but we also have to monitor how we're ensuring that there's stock available for the people who live here and who need it.
I've got two questions. And I think this is wonderful. I just heard about you yesterday in another. So I looked at the partners that you have. We have several other very small nonprofits that's working with niche situations. You like that. How do you find them, and how do they find you?
Yeah, we'd love to work with any other nonprofits. We are, one of the things that helps our work be effective is we're staying focused, right? Going back to that thing. And what we are working on right now is people who have federal rental subsidies. So, but any nonprofits who are helping connect clients who have federal rental subsidies, we'd be happy to talk with them. There are some other nonprofits who are working on housing vulnerable populations without those federal rental subsidies. That's very important work, totally necessary. It's not the work that we're doing right now. But if you know of nonprofits that are working with folks with subsidies, please send them.
So just going back to because I really think the collaboration is the component that we really need.
Yes.
I do think we're like this.
Yes.
And I would like to see those other resources in your website so we could see when we have, dealing with those other nonprofits that, hey, these are other things you may not be following this program, but here's some other programs that we have for our tenants.
Yeah.
Available. I'd like to see that together.
Yes.
And I'm just curious of,
Will you just follow up with me?
yeah, I will.
I'd be happy to talk to you about that, and I'd be happy to learn more.
Okay, and I'm very curious. The big elephant in the room is like, oh, what about Hawthorne? How's that going?
I was gonna ask
Yeah,
about
I mean, that's
I'm
good.
sure y'all are on
Yeah.
top of what happened.
Yeah, and they've invited our collaborative into the conversation, right? And they came out and said they are accepting federal rental assistance, which is great.
How did they?
Yeah, how did that? Was you involved? Yeah.
Did attorneys come find
I think that conversation about what actually happened is above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the room ultimately that made that happen, but I think that public pressure and the advocacy of a variety of groups made a difference. And so kudos to the journalists, journalists,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who got out there and brought this story to all of us. So it is so critical. I think what I will say to Hawthorne and to all of our multifamily units is that we're not asking for all of them. And for those of you who are property managers, we're not asking for all. We're saying that our goal in the next about 20 months is to move this program from serving 25 households to 150 households. Okay. And I believe that in this room and in this community, in this neighborhood, we can do 150 vulnerable households.
Yes.
So if you have one of those, that's all we need.
Yeah.
We need one from everyone, and we can get this done.
Good.
More questions?
Any others? This is exciting. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Matt.
How does this work get supported?
Yeah.
You may be wondering.
How do y'all get paid?
So, again, big thanks to Matt and Melissa who sponsored our work and helped us access funding from both the state and the nation, and are also sponsored the work we appreciation. Mosaic Community Realty, and Dagger, Town and Mountain are some of our realtors who are sponsoring this work. But lots of generous individuals and business partnerships, and we would love yours. If you are interested in sponsoring and supporting this work, we'd be happy to share your contribution with the community.
Hillary.
So recently, I've been doing property management for a friend of mine. He doesn't own a great house. He owns a trailer in a park. But recently, I talked him into joining with Thrive. We had problems with tenants not paying their rent, and I said, let's look into this. Let's look into this option to see if we can get the rent taken care of and perhaps get somebody from low-income housing in here that really needs it. And my owner has a really big heart. So contacted them, the tenant. We had to make sure that the facility, that the house, the home the electricity was working, that it was going to be a safe environment for people moving in. So that took a lot of time. Woman, they kept going, well, she's got 4 kids and we're trying to find her a home. And I'm like, okay, let me get this together. I got to get rid of the cockroaches. She moved in last week.
Yes.
And so I think that it's going to work out really well. We are in Buncombe County. The home is in Buncombe County. It is within a half a mile of a bus stop in the event that she needed that, but she does have her own vehicle. She does work. She's been living in her car for the past year. She seems to be very sweet. Will I have my finger on that a little bit more than anybody else? Absolutely. But not only do they do their own background checks, but I did mine as well. And she came from HelpMate. Mm-hmm. So they partnered with HelpMate, Homeward Bound, the VA. So the fact that she came from HelpMate, and I've had friends who have gone into HelpMate was good. But so we're just trying to help her. They just signed a year lease. She's taking care of her utilities. and I'm getting them from Help Me.
Yes.
So we're looking for it to be a success.
And soon a unit stability bonus too. It's coming.
What about lot leases?
I'm so sorry.
You mentioned that a lot of these units to get these additional subsidies can't be rented to a voucher holder in the last year. The same rules apply if they were getting subsidies from one of these partnership organizations.
Yes.
So if you had a helpmate person in there in the last year, it does not qualify for additional subsidies.
It can actually. We do have some different levels within our BRAC program. Those who have worked with vouchers or federal rental assistance and those who have not. So we have an option for both. You have another question?
Well, I guess lot leases would work because people own the trailer, but they're renting the lot.
Yeah, absolutely. We have manufactured homes. In fact, Hillary is,
That's what I was saying.
yeah. And the partner works.
People own the structure, but the landlord owns the land.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they own, and so I told her, the landowner, that what we were doing, and I don't know whether or not she's doing it through Thrive or who she's doing it through, I don't know. But I explained to her what I was doing, and she goes, as long as you do your background checks and you get the applications done, I'm like, absolutely. But yeah, it's gonna work out.
Yeah, so manufactured homes are welcome, absolutely. And any additional paperwork in Hillary's case, there needed to be, for the park itself, an additional piece of paperwork. We help tenants understand, what that's all about. Right?
I'd be remiss if I didn't name also the way that the service runs to the city and county.
Yes.
They are really investing in this, and what we want Virginia to know is that we think this is a great bang for the buck from our local partners. Right? They're providing a layer of incentives that really makes it more likely that landlords will be able to accept federal rental assistance. So we think it's a great investment from our city and county, and we're going to continue to make that argument. And right now, they're really funding this work and providing these incentives are really coming directly from the city and county. And so this is a pilot where we're really going to be collecting all of this data and bringing it back to the city and county in about 20 months. And we hope that will really be proof of concept for making this investment ongoing. You do.
Council members.
Please sign up for our newsletter so you can stay informed so that when we make the call for y'all to help lobby, that you can be one of the voices that's really championing the strategy. So if you go to our website at thriveasheville.org, you can sign up for our fabulous newsletter produced by our work Kelly Golden, and you can stay abreast of all the work that we're doing.
Thank you again. Appreciate your work.